Hi, my name is Wendy Ann Clark, and this is my channel Transformation, where I talk about how God desires that we would be transformed into the image of His Son by the power of the Holy Spirit. And here I bring teaching that I hope will help and encourage you to cooperate with the Holy Spirit and to let Him transform you. And this is my friend Susie.
Hi.
And so today I'm doing something a little different. She's here visiting me, so I thought, well, we would talk about our friendship and about how God works through our friendship and those kinds of ideas. So that's what we're going to do today. So is there something you want to do to introduce yourself? I didn't ask her that question before.
Sorry.
So
Hi, I'm Susan, and I'm Wendy's friend from California, and we've been friends for a while, and I'm happy to be here today, sharing my friendship with Wendy.
Okay, so we're going to talk about how we met. How did we meet?
Well, we met when our churches merged together, and my husband was on the worship team, and Wendy was the worship team leader, and he really liked her. And so I decided, well, of course I have to like her because my husband knows a lot about that.
And I got to know Susan's husband a lot because I did these musicals with all ages, and we would have skits and songs and stuff in them, and they were funny. And your husband Gary was very funny, but in a very understated kind of a way, where sometimes you had to look and go, are you being serious? So I liked Gary. I liked his sense of humor. And but when the two churches joined, Susan, was that smooth sailing, those two churches joining together?
No, not really.
Not really. So it was a little bit of a challenging time.
It was a difficult time for the church because we came with two different philosophies and we had to merge those.
And we had different expectations, and so there was misunderstandings, and it was kind of hard. Gary was just super nice and super encouraging. He was just like, we can work this out. We just all need to be nice to each other. I appreciated that about Gary, So, so I was friends with Gary. So how did you and I get to be closer friends?
Well, I would like to say that you were also friends with my daughters, and that you brought drama to my two theater kids, and they loved it. I loved watching them, and I was kind of a part of it all, just watching my family enjoy working under you and for you, and then I enjoyed the productions, and so that made me, and just Gary liking you made me want to be your friend. And then you had parties at your house, and I really loved them. I had the best time, and that made me feel closer to you because we became more one-on-one. But we really became close when you had left New Harbor, and so we were distanced. We had never been really, really close friends, just kind of friendly. And but you had been part of the Bible study, which you stayed for a little longer, and that's another way we became closer, because as you're part of a Bible study, it helps you develop friendships, and I think we became a little closer with that. But when you left, I remember talking with you about it, and I agreed it was time for you guys to do what the Lord wanted you to do. But through that time, my daughter became sick with advanced ovarian cancer, and I had a friend that wanted us to just get together at least once just to talk. And I guess I was a little hard to get a hold of, but it was a time I really needed somebody.
Okay, so even before that, Gary passed away, and it was kind of sudden. I mean, we knew he was sick, but they were telling us he had like 12 years or something like that. And then you called me and said, I think he's going to pass away. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, because it was real short into after his diagnosis, wasn't it?
About 2 years, but
okay,
he
but
was supposed to live 10 years.
We thought he had another decade, and so then you said, I think he might be dying, and then he died. And then you asked me if I would come back and do something at the service, which I did. And then we talked a little bit then. And then how long after that did Leslie get sick?
Well, it's hard for me to remember. He died in 2008, and she died 2014, and she had 2 years. So you all do the math.
So anyway, I heard that Leslie was really sick, and that and I wanted to get in touch with you. So I was calling you and leaving messages on your phone, and several messages. But since I was going to another church and you were going to a different church, I was thinking she's got lots of friends around her, and maybe it's a serious time, and it's a hard time. And I had cancer before, so I knew kind of what that's all like. And I thought, well, maybe it's just too much, and she's got enough friends. And I'm making up in my mind all the reasons why you're not returning my calls. And so I finally just stopped calling. And then you had talked to Linda, and Linda called me and said Susan didn't have her phone. And she has her phone now, and you should call her. You should call her. And so I called you, and we set up. You said I could come see you at the hospital, that you would be like in the waiting area for families, and I could come up there and spend some time with you. And so when I was driving over there, I was praying about, like, well, what am I supposed to do to help Susan? It's hard to help people in these kind of situations. What am I supposed to do? And I felt like God was saying, just be there, just be a friend, just be present. There's not anything that you really have to do. And then when I got there and started talking to you and asking you, like, what do you need? And you said, I just need a friend. So I felt like that was the answer to prayer. Like God was telling us what we need to do. And so I just decided, okay, I'm just going to be available. I'll just be that friend. And then you were saying you didn't have that many people. You have people.
Mm-hmm. I have people.
Right. But you were just feeling kind of alone. And a lot of people, it's hard. You're busy and you got a lot going on in your life. And at that time, I could be available. So I think we came out and had dinner with you, me and Roy, and probably one of our kids. I can't remember who. If Hannah, it was probably Hannah. And then we just decided, you and me, we're going to be friends. We're going to figure out how to be friends.
I'm having a couple tears because this is just a good memory, but it's a little bit difficult. So, one of the other reasons that Linda was hoping we'd get together is because Wendy understood cancer, and it was not just a friend, but somebody. It was a different way for her, but she really understood cancer, and so I had somebody that I could talk to and be friends with, and not have to talk about cancer.
It's true.
We didn't have to talk about it, and I think probably we did in the course of our time together, but it's just somebody that understands with what it's like to be present, what it's like to notice what that person might need or not need, but really just being present with and walking the journey, the whole journey. Wendy and I spent time with Leslie. Leslie and Hannah spent time together. I don't remember Haley and Heather being where they were at that time.
But they came one time with us. We all went to the mall with Leslie. Do you
Oh
remember that?
yeah, that was
with
so
all
much
the
fun. I have
kids.
pictures of that.
I think, did we do Build-A-Bear or
We
something?
did Build-A-Bear.
Okay.
They all built bears, and Leslie really loved it. She loved the little bear, and and so we did things together as a family. But Wendy was present for all of it, not just for me and her, but for Sarah, for Leslie, for our living situation, and just comfortable to be around. But I think that understanding of cancer was really important. And it is so funny that we didn't really talk about it. But sometimes when you're going through something really difficult, God will bring somebody that really understands what that's
And
like.
mostly we talked about praying about it. We talked about how we would pray for Leslie. And I had some people from a church that I knew they prayed for healing come and pray for Leslie. And then I went out there for a worship service one night and stood in for Leslie and prayed for Leslie. So we did talk about that. We did talk about what we were hoping God would do. And what do people say? All those kind of things. And I did attend some gatherings that you had with circles of people that came to pray for Leslie. We did do that. But that's the only kind of part about cancer that we really talked about. We didn't really talk about treatment, or I wasn't trying to give you treatment advice or anything like that. We just hear what they that what
None
they
at
were
all.
doing. Yeah.
And that was good, because when you decided what kind of treatment you're going to have when you have cancer, or like I was going through it with my daughter, you've already researched it and made your decision. And that's not a need you really have. At the time, you've already committed to chemo. So you don't need to have somebody come and tell you not to have chemo. You've made a commitment and you've made your decision. So it was really good that we didn't talk a lot about, not that we didn't talk about it at all. We probably did, but we didn't talk a lot about the decisions that you've made. We've talked about what as came along that we might want to talk about and think about, but we didn't talk about the decisions, and I like that.
Yeah.
And
I think
another
you give good
thing
advice.
that we did during that time, because that was early in Leslie's cancer, and Wendy stayed with me the whole time that Leslie had cancer. God worked that out for us, that Wendy was there during the whole journey. And one of the things I liked that we did early on was she went to Bible study fellowship with me, and we were studying Genesis, and I got to the point where Abraham was asked to give up Isaac, and it was a faith issue. And I had struggled with a faith issue when my husband died. I felt like God let me down. He could have saved Gary, and Gary was supposed to have longer to live. And I really, really struggled with it. But when it came to Leslie, and just God having us study Genesis together, and that Abraham part was very important to me, and the faith that Abraham had, and the Lord let me have that kind of faith with Leslie. And I feel like Wendy was a part of that we together went to BSF, and that's a way she supported me, was even though she didn't know that BSF was going to help me have more faith and help me accept the fact that Leslie could live or die, and God, it was in God's hands, and he could have her live or he could have her die. And that's the way I went throughout the journey of my cancer. He could have her live or he could have her die. And Wendy was part of that. She was a part of being a part of that great faith question that I had. She was there, and she was there for me.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time together, and some of that was, BSF was a morning that we spent together, spent time.
We had
was
a lot of
important.
coffee, we had a lot of breakfast, and we always had conversations, and it, I think, made us get closer and closer together.
Okay, so then we were in that period of time, my husband, I, my family were feeling called to come move our whole lives, uproot our lives, and move to Idaho. And Leslie was still sick. It was right towards the end. We had another friend passed away that we went to her service, and then we were moving to Idaho, and it all happened a lot faster than we were expecting. It's that when we put our house up for sale and we were told it's going to take a long time to sell, it took about a week. Because we were selling it a short sale, and the real estate agent said the bank's not going to take any offers. This is not going to sell. And then we got an offer, and then the bank took it, and then we were like, oh no, we're going to have to move, and all that. And so we did move, and Leslie passed away in August. We were kind of moving right after the 4th of July. We were kind of moving, and it was a process, but we had moved just barely. And so we came back for Leslie's funeral. Leslie didn't want us to have some funeral dirge kind of experience, so it was kind of a fun kind of event, as much as it could be without Leslie. And when we came back for that, so we've been since then about 10 years, almost 10 years now.
It's
just
been
coming
10
into
years.
August. We've been living apart. Our family's been living in Idaho, and you've been living in California, and we've still maintained our friendship. But it's taken some effort, right? It's taken some intentional things. We were talking about when Susan came this time. She's been to visit us 5 times, and each time we've lived in a different house. 5 times, 5 houses, all rental houses, and just moving. and all different things. Always something that I like about the house, because God knows what I like. He does know, I think, that I hate to move, though. So I've had to move 5 times, 5 different places. And I've been to visit at least a couple of times. And then, so I visited once at Christmas time, I remember that. And I visited for your birthday party, when you had your big birthday party. And it was a French-themed birthday party. And so I listened to a lot of French music from like the 50s. And I wrote a little French song and sang that at her birthday party. Yeah, that was fun. And it was fun to celebrate with you. And a little French themed party, because someday, Susan, you're going to France.
I hope so. We're planning on it. My daughter and I are planning on going to France. And Wendy came and celebrated with me for longer than just my birthday, but for a week. And it was a lot of fun. And I live in a small apartment, and we managed it just fine.
That's right.
And it was a time I still have a heart happiness about, because it was just fun. We just had all kinds of fun, silly things and all kinds of fun. Those times together we are intentional about. I wanted to come now to visit Wendy because I wanted to be with my friend during this time in her life. And I wanted to be there and let her know that I'm there. She could call me, or that I want to be present with her. And but all the other times, one time after Leslie died, when they first moved there, that October, Wendy invited me up, and I thought, no, I'm sad about Leslie. I'm really, really sad. And I came up, and my heart felt a relief of the pain. And I hung around their family and had some joy. And that's what the whole family does for me. Wendy is my friend, but the whole family is my friends. And I just feel so encouraged and so uplifted spending time with them. And I have to make time to come up here and just be around the whole family and what they're doing, and just experience the way life is here. And we might go out and do fun things. We do some, what's that called?
Touristy things.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
This is a tourist place,
and I went to
touristy things to do.
The rodeo, or we went to this or that, and we do that. But we have a lot of time Wendy and I always have time to talk together during that time. And we also, when we're not doing those, when I'm not coming here or she's not coming to see me, we have conversations pretty frequently, and they're long conversations on the phone.
Yes,
And,
this is true.
Wendy doesn't have, we're busy people, but we set aside time to have long conversations. And we talk about everything that's going on in our lives, or we might talk about something we're struggling with, or something we want to think about together, the way the Bible tells us to think about it. What does God say? Or to pray about it. This is something I'm praying about it, and as prayers come up, we might be able to bring some more conversation to it. But we talk for a long time together on those conversations, and those are intentional.
Yes, and sometimes I'm asking, the thing that I would ask is like, well, what's God teaching you right now? Or like, what are you reading? Or what, those kind of things, so that we're not just, sometimes people talk like, how are you doing? Fine. How are you? Fine. We don't have those kind of conversations. Like, what's really going on? What are the things you're praying about and hoping about? And what's going well? What are you excited about? What you looking forward to? Those kinds of things. So, but it is intentional. And I think if we didn't do that, we wouldn't stay close.
That's right.
It is about being intentional. And that's how we continue to be friends. And we kind of want to talk about that today, to say it's important to develop friendships, but to maintain friendships. My husband always says it takes 10 years to build a 10-year friendship. And some people, they won't put the time in. So they don't have any deep friendships because they give up. And really, we're like, oh gosh, I moved to Idaho now 10 years ago. And that's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. And we've maintained our friendship all those 10 years. And we were friends probably 10 years before that, maybe. You know, it's like, and we were friends when we had little kids, and our kids were, you know, friends together. And really, it goes through friendships go through seasons, and things are a little bit different, and you're closer, and you're not, but as long as we're sort of pursuing that, then it grows, right? It grows. So I wouldn't have anticipated how close we would become when we first met.
I don't think I would either. We're different. We were doing different things, and we had our children and our families, and we were in that at the same time. So we did have things in common. We loved music. My husband was part of the worship team. He loved music. My kids loved theater, and so do I. So we had things in common, but it was kind of different. We, you know, just in different spaces,
And we're very different from each other.
a little bit.
I think we are. We have a similar sense of humor, and we laugh at each other's humor. That's true. We have that shared, and we both really appreciated Gary. That's true.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And how we're different. I would say I tend to lean with my logic and my reason, and it's not that I'm not a feeling person, but I tend to lean with my logic and reason. And I would think you have a tendency more to sleep with your feelings a lot, but you're not. It's not that you're not a thinking person, but you'll sometimes say to me, well, there might be another way that you could think about that. And that's why I would say I think you have a gift of mercy, like you're just merciful to people. And I think I have a gift of teaching. And sometimes I want to teach the thing, and maybe I haven't thought about where the person's at necessarily. You know, like you're the kind of person who remind me to think about, like, well, where the person is right now, and maybe they're not ready, or maybe whatever. Like, it's a compassion thing.
Well, thank you.
But I don't lack compassion, but sometimes it takes me a little bit to get there, or maybe I don't lead with it. Yeah.
I would say that that's true, and that both things are important in the Bible. And I think that I need to think about all the things that the Bible teaches us, and that I come to Wendy because I want to hear what she has to say from her logical perspective and from her Bible study. And I really want to hear it because I want to do what the Word says. I want to really follow Jesus. And Wendy's a person that I could go to and say, no, I'm on the mercy side of this issue. And what do you think about that? And then we clarify some things for me. And we are different about the way we approach those subjects. So I want to be the person that has both. I want to look at what's right and wrong and what God calls right and wrong, and I want to have mercy. And God does both things. And I think it's a nice shared friendship to have those two really different approaches to our Christian walk.
And we're different in ways that we could fight if we wanted to. I don't think we've ever fought. Have we ever fought about anything?
Mm-mm.
There's nothing important enough to really have some sort of argument about. We don't quarrel or anything like that. And so there's probably some things we don't spend a lot of time talking about that we see differently. But where we're centered on is, what does the Word of God teach? And both of us really want to be faithful to that. And we both understand that we might have attitudes or opinions or thoughts about it that aren't right, and we want to be right. I want to be correct according to the Word of God. So if I've been holding something, I have a wrong opinion, I really want to know that and figure that out, how to let go of, surrender opinions that aren't godly opinions. And sometimes it's hard to see. And so we're talking about some difficult things right now, and trying to see, what does the Word of God really say? And we know some people are on this side and some people are on that side, and some people are really sure on different sides of things. And we're kind of like, I don't know. We need to figure out what does God really want us to say and do. And it's not always that simple, but we don't fight about things, and we don't, I think we don't get our feelings hurt a lot, or we're not easily offended. We surrender that.
I think we come from two different places, but we also look at the Word. We both want to see what the Word has to say. And as far as arguing, I don't know why we don't argue.
I know most friends do, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe we just stay together about 4 or 5 more weeks. Maybe we would.
Yeah. The one thing about Wendy and Wendy's family is they always invite me to stay longer. And they've always said, stay long, stay long. And my practice has been to stay with people for 3 days. And because
I'm kind of like, you're spending the flight money and everything, like stretch it out to 3 weeks. But we've never done that.
we've never done 3
And
weeks.
I've always come for a week too because I'm working and all that kind of thing. And you are too. We have things going on and it's just hard to do a lot long. So I guess we should say we usually see each other for about a week, 10 days or something.
Yeah, I usually stay a little longer because I love it that they invite me to stay longer. And I say, okay, I'll stay a little longer. But it's just really wonderful to have you as a friend.
Well, it's wonderful to have you too. Is there anything else we want to tell people? We're kind of wanting to encourage you to pursue a friendship that lasts a long, long time. At least 1 or 2 of those, maybe more if you can, but pursue some friendships that last a long, long time because it's valuable, right?
It's valuable to journey with someone in their lives and see what God does. It's an adventure, and we're sharing an adventure together as we follow Christ. And it's nice to look back and say, I can look back and we could talk about the dramas that Gary and her did, and funny things, funny dramas, funny things at the parties that Wendy would have. And we have that sharing of the journey that I went through with, especially with Leslie. That to a mom, that time is in my heart. And Wendy's there with me because she went through that journey with me, and we can remember that. And it's okay for me to talk about it sometimes to Wendy. And we don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but it's there and we shared it together. And then we've shared our journeys of where God's taking each of us. And it's nice to have that long-term friendship that you can remember things and move forward and be it the whole time, and not even from distance. And we don't have to write long letters anymore because we have texting that you could just text.
Well, so we want to encourage you to pursue some long-time friendships and take the time and the effort. And for me, it's writing it on my calendar, like saying, when can we talk, and putting it on my calendar, because I'm really terrible about in the moment just calling. I really have to plan ahead. So we encourage you to do that and to make some good friends and to stick it together for a long period of time. We think that's valuable. So that's I hope that you found some hope and encouragement, and you will grow and surrender some things to God and make some good friendships. And if you liked this video, would you hit like? And if you think somebody else would enjoy it, would you please share it? And hit subscribe if you just want to help me on YouTube to have more people watch the video. That's really helpful. And hit the notification button if you want to be notified when I post new content. And thank you for watching, and we hope you watch again.
Bye.